Hi, my name is Aileen Tejeda, and I'm a Senior Instructional Fellow at Relay, New York City.
Perfect. Aileen, I'd love to hear about your journey to this role.
Yeah, so I started out, like a lot of instructional fellows here, as a teacher. After college, I taught high school for 3 years. And then after that, I decided to get my master's in education policy. And I've worked in curriculum design, data assessment. Before my position at Relay, I was working at KIPP Foundation, working with the national network of high schools there, doing the work with training principals and teachers and looking at data and assessment.
Perfect. And why did you decide to become an instructional fellow?
One of the things that I loved about KIPP was that I was able to make impact at scale, working with a national network of schools. But one of the things that I missed from earlier in my education career was the direct one-to-one coaching of teachers, especially new teachers. So that's what drew me into the role, being able to work with students, teachers who are in their first or second year in the classroom, getting into schools. This job has given me the opportunity to do that. It was something that I missed.
Beautiful. And how would you describe what you do?
I describe what I do on the day-to-day. I put it into buckets. So teacher support, so that's going into their schools, doing formal and informal observations, giving them direct one-to-one coaching. During deliberate practice, I'm on a residency team, so it looks a little bit different on the master's level. And there so observations, one-to-one coaching. The other bucket is grading and assessments. So they turn in their assessments at the end of every module, and I'll go through, grade them, and give them feedback on teacher practices and just general teacher theory and how it's applied in their classroom. And then the other bucket of it is instruction. And so I work closely with our assistant professor of practice who leads most of the content in the class. And I teach certain portions of it, support during class, assist with practice when we're in class. So yeah, those three. So observation, teacher support, grading and assessment, and actual teaching of graduate students.
Awesome. And what do you like most about your work?
I think what I enjoy most is also what's sometimes one of the hardest pieces. I enjoy classroom observations. So I get to see our teachers once or twice a week during deliberate practice and when they come in for their class night. But one of my favorite parts is hopping on a train to a school in Brooklyn or the Bronx or parts of Manhattan and seeing the teachers in the classroom with their students, using the things that we've taught them and applying them in the classroom with real live students. Also seeing the relationships that they've built with students over time. The difference between going and seeing them in September and in December and January, and then at the end in April and May, and seeing the growth that they're able to make with real life students is my favorite part.
Cool. Now, this is the second year that you've been an instructional fellow, right? So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about what the difference is between this second year and your first year.
Well, I think the first year it was a lot of figuring out the time and task management piece, how to get organized so that I can run around to 20 different schools in the city and make sure that I'm giving enough time to observe them and offer a really thoughtful debrief after, and also making sure that I am grading their assessments on time, giving really high quality feedback and turning it back around to them, and then still making sure that I'm prepared for our teaching night. So I think that going through a full academic year and understanding the ebbs and flows, like when are points that are particularly stressful and busy for our graduate students and how those affect us. For instance, during state testing for our graduate students, they might be particularly stressed, but that might be a lower point for academics in terms of what assessments they have to turn in. Right now, it's probably a slower point for our graduate students in that there's no official classes happening here at Relay, and things are a little bit slower at their schools because they're just picking up from a new semester. But on our end, we're cleaning up lots of scoring from the end of the academic year, so things are particularly busy. It's nice to know that. It's nice to go into this academic year knowing what I know about when are those high points and those dips where I can tackle some other projects.
Cool. What advice do you have for folks that are applying for role as an instructional fellow?
I think probably the biggest piece of advice is, one, to have a good sense of your time and task management system. So whatever it is that you use, make sure that you study up on that and feel confident about it, but be ready and flexible to adjust, because this work does feel, it's not your traditional, some days it might feel like a traditional 9 to 6 type of job, but a lot of times we're running around, we're in the field, we are supporting and advising graduate students who are also first-year teachers. So being ready to offer that, being ready to offer the highest leverage feedback, because it isn't pretend. They're not just coming here and getting content from us and then going home and studying, going to another job. The feedback that we give them today, they're going to apply in their classroom with real life human children tomorrow. So thinking about like how you can make sure that your time and task management skills are great so you can best serve our graduate students, but also thinking about how you give feedback and what piece of feedback is going to be the highest leverage for a teacher to apply it tomorrow in their classroom.